You're listening to the Good Question Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Our goal is to make each of our guests exclaim, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. Because when that happens, it means you, the listener, may be inspired to learn more beyond the interview and to ask great questions yourself that lead to new insights. In this podcast, we cover historical and current anthropology, comparative religion, and history. Welcome, and let's get started.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Good Question Podcast. My guest is Dr. Mike van Thielen. He's a best-selling author. He's actually a biohacker and a world record holder, which we'll find out about. We're going to be talking about molecular hydrogen and how to use it as a therapy to affect us in a positive way. Mike's the director at HydroHeal, which is an innovative medical company with the latest molecular hydrogen solutions for cellular optimization of health. He's certified by the Molecular Hydrogen Institute. He has a PhD in holistic nutrition. Again, physician, mentor, biohacking expert, author, TEDx speaker. I mean, a whole bunch of great accolades. So, welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Richard.
Yeah, tell me how you and Miss Hydrogen met and under what circumstances.
Oh, well, Miss Hydrogen is a recent miss. No, I've grew up in Belgium. That's where my accent's from. Competitive swimmer, came to the United States at age 26 with $400 a backpack and a pair of jeans, but came here as a physical therapist, then got more interested in quote-unquote alternative medicine. Got my license in acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, homeopathy, and the whole 9 yards. But after almost 1,000 patients, I got a little bit discouraged because these therapies are indeed less invasive than conventional medicine, meaning drugs, surgeries, and injections. But I didn't get the lasting results I was looking for either. So that's when I decided to get my PhD in holistic nutrition, but also look at Mother Nature, because I figured Mother Nature must have the answer to health. And so when people ask me, should I get a second opinion? I said, yes, just ask the animals in the wild or ask yourself, what do they do? So with that knowledge, I really became very confident in helping anybody overcome any disease or optimize their health. Or today, as you mentioned, Richard, biohacking has many definitions, but to me, it's upgrading your body and your mind and objectively reversing your biological age. So currently, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach, and I help people. I have a few people with cancer overcoming that. And on the other hand, I work with top athletes around the world and anything in between, because it's about getting to that next level. It's about maximizing your performance or overcoming disease. And I do that through self-optimization. So again, upgrading the body and the mind. And the way I came into hydrogen as a quote-unquote biohacker, it's one of the most researched, innovative technologies available today that is 100% safe. You don't need doctor supervision, and the research shows great benefits. So it's one of those tools that we all should look at if we're interested in overcoming disease and or living longer or performing better.
How did you first encounter hydrogen? Was it part of your curriculum?
I just go to conferences, conventions, and always check out what's the latest and newest. And there was more and more research coming out on hydrogen. Of course, we know hydrogen as the first element on the periodic table when we were in school, 1 electron, 1 proton. We know it's the most abundant element in space. We know it's part of rocket fuel used by NASA. And so we know a lot about hydrogen. It's also trying to become an alternative fuel source. But what we're talking about here is molecular hydrogen or hydrogen gas, which basically is 2 hydrogen atoms bonded together in a strong covalent bond. And that seems to have a very therapeutic effect in our body, and that's what they have been researching. Currently, I would say there's just over 1,200 peer-reviewed research articles on molecular hydrogen, and over 200 of those are human studies, so that's pretty impressive.
So what kind of conditions or problems would necessitate hydrogen therapy?
Yeah, good question. Well, if you look at all those studies, it has a positive effect on 170 or over 170 common diseases. And people say, how is that possible? Well, in order to understand that, we need to look at its effect on the cellular and even a mitochondrial level. So the first thing people need to understand is that hydrogen is this, or molecular hydrogen is the smallest molecule that we know. So it's very, very small. And because because those two atoms bond together, it becomes neutral. There's no charge, there's no polarity. And because it's so small and no polarity, it easily can cross our cell membranes and enter the cell and exert its therapeutic effects on a cellular level. And if we think about neurodegenerative diseases, it also can easily cross the blood-brain barrier and then enter our neurons and brain cells, because we know in conventional medicines that work in our body often cannot find its way to the brain because of the blood-brain barrier. So the first thing people need to understand that it's so small, it can get in every cell, can get in your brain, and even in the mitochondria, the energy production factories of your cells, right? And then the research shows many positive properties. To name the top 3 or 4, I would say the first one, it is a powerful selective antioxidant. We all heard about antioxidants before, like vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin D, glutathione, and the list goes on. And we know they're necessary to neutralize the excess of free radicals in our body, because an excess of free radicals would cause that oxidative stress, would cause a lot of degenerative disease, even cancer, and the list goes on. So the uniqueness about molecular hydrogen, though, is that unlike vitamin C and the other antioxidants, again, they're great and they do their job outside of the cell, but they cannot enter the cell. Hydrogen is the only antioxidant that can enter, waltz into the cell, and actually, neutralize those free radicals at its source. A good example of that is actually cancer, because cancer starts with the mutation of our nuclear DNA and our mitochondrial DNA, and that mutation is caused by the oxidative stress caused by free radicals inside the cell, like hydroxyl free radicals, peroxynitrate, etc. So no other antioxidants can go to the source and neutralize it, and hydrogen can do that. So that's number 1. Number 2, it's a very strong anti-inflammatory. We know now that even conventional medicine agrees that over 90% of all disease is directly related to inflammation or systemic inflammation in our body. And again, there's many things that we can do diet-wise, supplement-wise, and otherwise, but it's hard to, again, reduce that inflammation inside the cell, and hydrogen can do that. Research shows that it stimulates the NRF2 pathway. It reduces pro-inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha. It also reduces interleukins 1 alpha, 1 beta, 6, 8, 10, and the list goes on. So very strong anti-inflammatory effect. And for those who are a little bit familiar with disease, especially doctors, healthcare professionals, when we talk about strong antioxidant or not being a strong antioxidant, fighting free radicals and oxidative stress, and anti-inflammatory, we know that those two perpetuate itself and basically are the cause of all disease. So those are the 2 main properties of hydrogen. So preventing disease, overcoming disease, suppressing cancer, and the list goes on.
Interesting. How is it administered? Do you breathe it with through a nebulizer, or you have to breathe it so small and hard to be contained?
Yep, there's different ways. The cheapest way is almost like a supplement they call hydrogen tablets. It's the cheapest way in the short term. Get the hydrogen therapy, I would say. These tablets are basically elemental magnesium, and when you put them in water, the magnesium will change the alkalinity of the water, make it more alkaline, and the byproduct becomes hydrogen. However, this is unstable. That's why they will say when you use tablets, you got to drink it immediately and you will get hydrogen, but you don't know how much. So that's the cheapest way. Then we have hydrogen water and hydrogen inhalation. So with all these systems, whether they are $200-$300 bottles that you take to travel, or whether you have a system in your kitchen, or whether you have a system like I have that both produces the water and you can inhale, those systems all work by electrolysis. So the electrolysis splits the H2O in oxygen gas and hydrogen gas. The oxygen escapes in the room and the hydrogen gas is then inhaled through the nose. You don't have to put a mask on. It's those 2 little tubes up the nostrils. Through the nose you inhale it, or if you want water, then that hydrogen gas can be suspended back in water. But this is stable hydrogen, so now you don't have to drink that water immediately. You can keep it in the fridge for a few days and continue to drink it. But the difference between the water and the inhalation, I would say, I'm drinking hydrogen water right now as we speak, but the inhalation will deliver much higher concentrations of hydrogen in far less time than the water. So based on, I work with my clients all the time, obviously, but based on what the goal is or what they need to overcome, let's say somebody needs to overcome cancer, well, we need an inhalation system and we need to use it a lot because we need to fight something versus somebody just wants to
what if he sees the asthma, chronic asthma? Can it do anything for that?
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
What would the protocol look like, just as an example?
Well, you inhale it through the nose, it obviously goes to the lungs and it has a strong anti-inflammatory effect. And we know all the medications for asthma or bronchodilators trying to get that irritation, inflammation down. So molecular hydrogen would be good to do that.
What do your patients notice with different conditions? Like how many times a week will they come to breathe hydrogen, or they do it at home, or like what's the
I would suggest
protocol?
if you have a small budget, I would do it at home. I don't know how many clinics offer molecular hydrogen. They're probably far and in between. Again, the tablets are maybe $40-$50 per month. A hydrogen bottle that produces the water is $200-$300. There's no consumables, so that's easy too. I would say there are systems out there that are cheap coming from China. I would never recommend those because they are made so cheaply that the material it's made with actually starts oxidizing, and now you're inhaling more chemicals and toxins than beneficial hydrogen. So I would say that
Well, you said most systems that cost like $200 to $300 that it makes it for you, and then you inhale it right away.
$200-$300, I never would buy those because they won't work. They are made with cheap materials, and you possibly can do more harm than good. Now the water,
there's not a clinic near you. You use tablets, but you said it's more effective to get. You were mentioning a device. So what is it?
I'm mentioning what?
You were mentioning a device, I guess, that could produce the hydrogen itself.
I'm talking about it. Yes, the device. If you want a good device, you probably will have to spend between three. The cheapest ones that are good and not harmful are probably about $3,500 when it comes to inhalation. Water can be much cheaper, but again, if you are somebody that needs to overcome a medical condition, inhalation is the way to go because it delivers a much higher concentration. So the best device on the market available in the United States now would be about $13,000. It's a commercial device. If money is not a problem, that's the one I would suggest. But if money is an issue, then the lowest price for a device that is made properly and can't harm you is about $3,500 when it comes to inhalation.
And these devices, what, you turn them on and they produce the hydrogen, and you have a mix or something when you breathe it?
Yeah, you need to put distilled water in it because the machine works through electrolysis, and so it will split the H2O, the water, in oxygen gas, hydrogen gas, and so the oxygen escapes in your room, wherever you're sitting. The hydrogen is inhaled through the nose direct, correct?
What's an example of commentary, like a protocol of someone that had a condition, you gave them the hydrogen, like what happened to them, over how long, what they experienced?
Well, again, it depends on the condition and severity, but, for example, I inhale 1 hour every day in the evening when I'm sitting in the couch and finalizing some paperwork because you don't have to put time aside. You can do things if you sit down and don't walk around, right? And that's preventatively. I swim and I work out in a gym and I want to live longer. I'm a biohacker. So to me, preventing disease, and I am stimulating my cells, my mitochondria, producing more energy and all the things that research shows. So I do it an hour per day. Now, if I have a cancer patient, I would tell them to do it 5 or 6 hours per day. So
that much?
And then, yes, then if you have cancer and if you want to survive, I would just try to knock that cancer out of my body as soon as I can with all the tools that I have, right?
Have you had patients who have had cancer who have done that, and have they gotten better results?
For sure, yes. But when I have a cancer patient, it's not just molecular hydrogen that I do. I design a protocol that basically targets the cancer from different angles. So if we think back on Tesla and healing, we talk about the vibration, frequency, and energy. So usually I use a combination of those tools. And so energy would be coming from the hydrogen. It's a crucial component of treating cancer the natural way. Frequency, I would use a high static analog PEMF device, which basically would increase the frequency of those cancer cells and bring them back to normal from a frequency point of view, because we know that our cells have a frequency of minus 50 millivolts. That's a healthy human cell. Cancer cells usually operate at plus 35 millivolts. And so we can basically recharge our body because our body is a huge capacitator. Our cells are capacitators. And so we can electrically, approach that cancer problem too, not just chemically. Conventional medicine, we're focused on drugs and chemistry, but there's other ways to approach the problem too. So I like to approach the problem chemically and frequency or energy wise.
Okay. Is there any guidance on how people should use this? Is he going to use it at home, or is it only used under doctor's supervision, or someone access it?
Yeah, it's 100% safe. You don't need a doctor's supervision at all. You can do it at home. You cannot overdo it either because our blood has a saturation of 1.8 to 2.2 cc's per liter. So once your body is saturated, you simply exhale the excess. So it's 100% safe, not 99%. You can't overdo it. And so therefore, there's no doctor supervision needed. And so yes, you can do this at home by yourself.
So what's I don't know what else is the hydrogen being tested for? Which conditions is it still unknown if it could help, or which conditions is it most amenable to?
Well, again, 170 have been studied, and it's all a positive effect, and that's because it has an effect on the cellular and mitochondrial level. So it always have a positive effect on any condition because everything stems from a cellular mitochondrial level, right? But of course, the most common are cancer. It shows tumor suppressing action, significantly tumor suppressing action, neurodegenerative diseases, because conventional medicine is very poor in managing those. It can diagnose them, and then once you're diagnosed with whether it's Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer, dementia, there's really no solution. But molecular hydrogen is one of those therapeutic agents that can easily cross the blood-brain barrier and get in the cell and reduce inflammation, oxidative stress. It also has cytoprotective properties, so it kind of stops the progression of those diseases quickly because it protects the cell. It also has shown to promote autophagy. Autophagy is one of those fancy names that basically means when our cells use proteins, these proteins get recycled. So it's our recycling system within our body that is very important, and hydrogen promotes that system. So it recycles materials to use them again. And it also regulates apoptosis, which is another fancy word that basically means programmed cell death. Everybody knows that we make millions of new cells every day, but in order to keep a balance, the same amount of cells kind of need to die off and be excreted through the body. And so that's programmed cell death. And so what we found is that as we age, our body doesn't function optimally. Many cells start to resist that process of eliminating after they're dead. And so there's all of that cells in our body that take up space, take up energy, take up nutrients, but they don't contribute to any of our functions. So they actually label them zombie cells or senescent cells. And so molecular hydrogen has shown that it regulates that apoptosis and kind of, keeps that balance between cell death and new cells. So there's many great properties that molecular hydrogen can do on a cellular mitochondrial level, affecting positively over 170 common diseases, including cancer, neurodegenerative diseases. I have personally also great results with any digestive or gut-related problems, whether it's Crohn's disease, celiac disease, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, food intolerance, etc. And the reason for that is because when you go to a doctor with any of those issues, they may put you on a specific diet, but they don't work. The reason they don't work, or even pro and prebiotics don't work, because the environment of the gut is not suitable for our healthy bacteria, which are our anaerobic bacteria, to colonize, to multiply, because that gut requires an electrical potential of 300 millivolts or higher. And so when it's not suitable for colonization, it doesn't matter how many good bacteria and etc. we put in there, because nothing's going to happen. So hydrogen has shown within 2 or 3 weeks to reestablish that electrical potential to 300, 400 millivolts and higher. And then a good diet or pre or probiotics would be able to get a recolonization of those good bacteria. So we get great results when it comes to digestive and gut problems also.
So hydrogen can essentially set the stage for you to heal your gut and introduce a better diet and all that, but it's first in that regard.
Yes, because the supplements in the diet won't be effective if the gut not in the correct environment, or there's not an environment that would be suitable for the good bacteria to colonize.
Have you tried this, hydrogen before you eat every meal, before you eat anything, see if it does anything, or after, see if it affects digestion, uptake?
Well, a lot of people feel better and more energy pretty quickly after it. Most of my patients, after 2 weeks consistently using it, they start feeling benefits. So that's pretty quickly, especially when you're suffering with something. Again, when I have a client, I just decide on the protocol based on what is it that we are fighting, or what our goal is, and what's your budget, because that's important too. And based on those two variables, I decide on the protocol and the type of hydrogen that we're going to utilize.
What about a deuterated form of hydrogen? Does that come into the samples when they use electrolysis? And if so, what happens?
What are you asking?
Deuterated hydrogen.
Deuterated?
Yeah, with a neutron in it, like deuterium, deuterated, like D2O. I don't know if it's as much in, a natural sample of water, but the hydrogen created maybe, deuterated.
Yes, I understand. No, many people use that water. And again, add the hydrogen to it. The hydrogen never mixes with the water. The hydrogen is a gas. So the hydrogen would be suspended in the water and stays in the water. It doesn't mix with the water. So we could suspend hydrogen, molecular hydrogen or hydrogen gas into that deuterium depleted water.
All right, but you haven't seen there's any effect of having that in the water.
I don't think there's any studies with the combination of those two, no.
Okay, interesting. Well, what's the future of this protocol? Does it just need to be brought to more people's attention, or is it changing how it's administered? Like, what's happening?
Well, no, I mean, there should be done some more research, fine-tuning a protocol. But again, conventional medicine is not interested. There's no patents to be made on the first element on the periodic table. So it's a lot of these studies come out of Japan, Israel, and etc., where the system actually wants to help people. Over here, that's never going to happen because there's no money to be made with these studies. I'm a proponent of this mostly because it's 100% safe. We cannot harm anybody doing this. And I think that's always important. A lot of the conventional medicine tools like injections, steroid injections, chemo, radiation, there's a lot of adverse reaction and harm that can be done. So I'm a proponent of this because there's plenty of research to back up the benefits. But at the same time, we can't harm anybody.
Understood. Well, where can you help people? Are you able to help across the whole U.S. or just in one state, in Florida? Like where, if someone's listening and they want this help, where can they go?
Well, I'm not a big social media guy, so the best place to go is my website. It's biohackingunlimited.com or MVT, my initials, Mike Van Thielen, mvtonline.com. It's my website. And you can schedule a 20-minute free call with me. So based, again, on your goals and based on what you want to achieve, I can kind of push you in the right direction or let you know what to do or what to buy and give you a protocol all at no cost. I'm just here to help people. The other thing you can do on the website is go to Limitless Lab. The Limitless Lab pages, we're building a community that has like-minded people that obviously want to get into a transformation, overcome disease, be in optimal health or live longer. And so we just started a great community for us to help people and have people to be able to interact with each other, but also get the help that they need.
Oh, that's great. All right, Mike. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, and I appreciate all your help and your insight.
Thanks for having me, Richard. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Good Question Podcast. Please email support@thegoodquestionpodcast.com if you have any referrals to great guests for us to interview. Visit thegoodquestionpodcast.com to hear more interviews. And please help us spread the word by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this podcast.